That's why he went to school.
So I think the problem is coming from the youth.
The people that rule this country, they are still the people today.
It is the youth who know well enough of today that can take charge of tomorrow. Hello, my name is Mark Miracle, and I'm standing in one of the streets in Port Harcourt, River State, South Niger Delta, Nigeria, and of course, West Africa. It's a pleasure and a delight to be welcoming you from the street on today's episode of Youth Engage Show. For sure, we have a very interesting topic today. We are talking about the 21st century youth and healthy living. Now, we are going to be talking about these problems and for sure provide solutions to them. And I have a very wonderful guest in the studio already. But before we go meeting for some questions and answers, let's go into the street and see what people have to say about this topic. Come with me and do stay engaged. Can I please meet you, sir? What is the name?
Yeah, my name is Kingsley Bassi. Naturally, if it talks about in those days of our fathers, I observed that they have more time, they can trek down to long distance, they do what we call physical exercise. Some of them are still alive, and I can use the example of my father. My father is 79 years old, but if you looked at him, he looked like 56 years old man because everybody loves doing exercise. But nowadays, if you tell them, let's take a stroll, I'm tired, I can't do all those things. Sometimes exercise expands the lives of so many. And now in this our 21st century, we have a lot of things that is against in our old age because a lot of things is invented that you think that is the best. It's not in the times of our fathers. You see a lot of things and youth engage themselves a lot of things that is not necessary at all. But if we can have the habit of our fathers, know what we eat.
Can you mention one or two of these things?
Sometimes our fathers eat vegetables that make them a lot. And youth nowadays, they love sweet, all those things that kill their lungs, kill all those things. Our father eat much of the vegetable. We live in the farm work and all those raw food that's helped them. But
so what is your final advice to any youth watching?
What I want to say, one or two things that at least we should do much of the exercise that they expand our lives. And we should go back to our vegetable, eat those things that is good, health-wise, to help our lives to be more expensive.
Yes, I know it's a very sad news for our youth dying just young, just like that. It's because of some of them don't have money to meet up with their target and anything, so it will lead them to go and smoke or steal from one place to another. So just that we should look for work to give them so that they can stop all those things that are doing.
And idle man is the devil's workshop.
Yes.
That's what you mean.
Yes.
Apart from work, what other problems affect the youth, their health?
Yeah, sometimes they are taking hard drugs.
Hard drugs.
Yes, smoke in their hands, many items. There are different things.
So what message do you have for the youth watching you now?
Really, I really want them to stop what they are doing. If they want to help themselves, if they want a good health, they should stop what they are doing. They should work hard, look unto God. Whatever challenges they are passing through, they should just pray that God is in control over them.
Yeah. First of all, one is misuse of drugs. It is very bad that our youth nowadays they go into drugs at their tender age, at the age of, let me say JS1. They have engaged themselves with drugs. For example, like drugs like tramadol, Refnol, Roshi, and codeine, which is very, very bad. It hurts the body system, and it can lead to early death. Thank you very much.
Now, people know that this can lead to early death, yet they engage in it. What is the problem behind it?
Lack of information and knowledge. Some people they are not informed. And they don't have a very good mentor.
But peradventure, for instance, the people that smoke, the smokers are liable to die young.
Okay.
So if you talk of knowledge, they know that they are liable to die young,
but
and they still go ahead to smoke.
That was say ignorance now. And they are addicted to that particular thing. They cannot leave it.
How do you, as a youth, how do you encourage anyone watching you now to live that habit?
The most important is you have to give your life to Christ.
Wonderful.
If you are born again, all those things can never come to you. If you know what you are doing in your life, all those things they are far from you. Thank you very much.
For sure, we do want to live long, so you have to stay away from drugs, stay away from anything that you know is detrimental to your health.
Let them be born again.
Born again.
Yeah.
You have to give your life to Christ. And if you are watching now, I want you to give your life to Christ. Just surrender your life to Christ, and I promise you, you will stay long as a youth. God bless you. It's been a nice time with you, sir.
Thank you very much.
What you need is determination.
That's why he went to school. So I think the problem is coming from the youth.
The people that rule this country, they are still the people today.
If you fail, try again.
It is the youth who know well enough of today that can take charge of tomorrow.
Youth Engage, now showing on Salvation TV. Every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Catch the replay on Saturdays, 5:30 p.m. Stay engaged.
Wow, it was an awesome time there in the streets. There is an axiom repeated time and again that youth are the pillars of tomorrow. But how do we take responsibility to build these pillars of tomorrow into becoming healthy human beings? It is for these that we are discussing a very vital topic today, the 21st century youth and healthy living. And I did promise you that I have a wonderful guest in the house, and it's my pleasure to welcome him today, Pastor Jack Charles. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
You are so much welcome. You did enjoy the youth, the interview from the street.
Yes, I did. I learned a lot personally. I picked up a few things here and there, and I learned a lot myself.
Okay, sir. But I would quickly want to ask you, sir, what are the practices engaged by the youth in this 21st century that is affecting our health adversely?
Okay, basically, there are two major areas which are interrelated. The first is the use of illicit drugs. Illicit drugs in the sense that they are not legal or they are not procured over the counter. They are not prescribed by doctors on a regular day. They are used for specific purposes, but people use them due to their effects on the central nervous system and the feelings they get after taking those drugs. Now, the second major thing that adversely affects the health of youth has to do with illicit sex. Illicit sex. And this usually comes from an effect or a side effect from the use of illicit drugs. Now, most times when they take these illicit drugs, they become uninhibited based on what they've seen from the media, from the internet, music, secular music, and so on. They become uninhibited, carefree, and live life anyhow, to the point that they get involved in illicit sex, promiscuity, and so on. Most times, most of these people would not have done or been involved in the illicit sex if not for the use of the illicit drugs. So you see young girls, young guys who are from reasonable homes, well brought up, involved in illicit sex because of the effects of illicit drugs. Now, there are also consequences of the use of the illicit drugs and the engaging in illicit sex. But basically, these two things, illicit drugs and illicit sex, which are related, are the adverse things or the things that adversely affect the youth in the 21st century.
You did mention that the illicit drugs are not bought over the counter. But I know one or two drugs that youth get from the counter. Like one person I interviewed in the street, did mention codeine or something. I think they said that over the counter. Okay,
until recently, the Nigerian government banned the use of drugs containing codeine or substances containing codeine. If you go back to the papers, so the Nigerian government banned such use of such drugs. Now, codeine itself stimulates the central nervous system chemically. It has the same structure of heroin or cocaine, and it's used in those days. It was used in the theaters to sedate people, to make them when they want to perform surgeries and
operations.
But these drugs also have other effects. Like codeine has this what they call as this expectorant. When we say expectorant, people who have cough. Now, when they cough, whatever is in their chest, the codeine stimulates the respiratory system, the upper respiratory tract, to expel these things. Now, irrespective of the fact that codeine has that effect on the respiratory system, it also stimulates the central nervous system. Now, most people go for this drug not because of the effect it has on the respiratory system, but the effect it has on the central nervous system. That's why they pick these drugs. They've been banned in Nigeria.
During one of the class, I was opportune to attend the communication and development class. We were told that youths of these days, they no longer purchase these drugs from the counter. They invent them. Some invent with chew gums. There is some, because we're on live TV, I will not even mention some, so I don't end up teaching people. Some do some stuff with Coke mineral itself. So how do we handle all this?
Okay, now coming to the name Coke. Coke means what it means.
Yes,
It's actually in time past. One of the major constituents in the Coca-Cola was cocaine. So it was called Coke.
Wonderful.
Yes, it was called Coke. Now they discovered that cocaine was used in the theater for surgical operations.
Yes.
Now the same effect in high doses to keep people asleep while they perform the surgeries was the effect we get when people take multiple bottles of the
this particular one, they add a substance which I'm not going to mention.
Yes.
I happened to hear it.
What the Coca-Cola company did was to remove the coke or cocaine from Coca-Cola and introduce caffeine.
Okay, that's it.
So that's what they had now. So, but yes, we still have people who invent things just to keep themselves, to keep that euphoric effect.
Now we've discussed about these drugs and all the rest. How does it affect the youth adversely? How does it contribute to limit the lifespan of the 21st century youth?
Good. Now, when you have people who get involved in illicit drugs, I mentioned two things: illicit drugs, illicit sex. Now let me handle the illicit drugs. Now you have people taking illicit drugs, and the next thing, they are involved in night parties, come back late, they get arrested by the police. Because of the inhibition or inhibited effects on the CNS, central nervous system. These same youths could get involved in cases of armed robbery, could be pushed easily into armed robbery, gangsterism, cause clashes, use of weapons, guns, and so on. Could get arrested, could get killed along the line. So you see, these drugs expose them to a lot of social vices and dangers. It cuts down their lifespan. Also, apart from that, you could get drunk driving, effects of the drugs while driving. There are certain drugs, like the cough syrup and the rest. If you look at the pack, they tell you do not operate heavy-duty machinery or do not drive while in use. But see, these youths taking it illegally in high doses have the effects multiplied severally. Then you see them driving vehicles. So you have auto crashes, their lifespans are reduced. Also, you see them involved in illicit sex from the drugs. So you see them having unwanted pregnancies, cutting short their educational span, getting involved in illegal abortions, which can also lead to death. They get exposed to HIV and all sorts of
STDs.
Yes, STDs.
Okay, it's a wonderful time here in the studio. Like you know, at the Youth Engage show, we do not just discuss problems, but provide pragmatic solutions to the issues affecting the youth in today's society. We're going to have a very short break and we'll be right back. Please do stay engaged.
What we need is determination.
That's why he went to school. So I think the problem is coming from the youth.
The people that rule this country, they are still the people today.
If you fail, try again.
It is the youth who know well enough of today that can take charge of tomorrow.
Youth Engage, now showing on Salvation TV. Every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Catch the replay on Saturdays, 5:30 p.m. Stay engaged.
You're welcome back to the Youth Engage show on Salvation TV. Sir, please, how can a youth notice health-related matters and take care of it without engaging on self-medication?
All right. Now, the first thing to do, if you go through the video, I think the last person who spoke, Charles, he said something about ignorance, and I totally agree with him. The first step on noticing and treating health-related matters in use has to do with acquiring information without assumptions. Assumption, as someone says, is a poorest form of knowledge. Never assume knowledge. Never assume you know. The first thing to do is to go for information, good, adequate information. Get exposed to information. So once you notice, one of the first things to know is, look, what are the effects of these drugs? What are the effects of illicit sex? Get information. These are the detrimental side.
Before you move away from information, we come from a part of, do I say a part of the world, or it's a general phenomenon that people get lots of information but don't practice it. You go to church every day, you hear don't do this. So talking about information, like you saw in the video, I objected him to that. People, like on the cigarettes, they write that smokers are liable to die young. You read this and you light it up and you smoke. So we have this information at our disposal, but the youth seem not to be taking it serious.
Okay, I'll quote a statement from Mark Twain. He said, do not allow your schooling interfere with your education. A lot of people go through school, as Papa would define it, schooling has to do with calendar, while education has to do with what you do outside the walls of school. That's education. A lot of people are schooled but not educated. If, for example, you know, you get you read it and it sinks deep within that these are the side effects and these things, and you see people who have suffered from the side effects of these things, you're going to stay away from it. But a lot of people just believe that, well, those people, someone will tell you that AIDS is American invention to discourage sex.
Yes.
And you go to the hospitals and you see a lot of people dying, suffering from the effects of HIV. You see children who have been orphaned by this deadly disease.
Yes.
So even though they know, they keep doing it. But I will also take a leaf from the Bible, where in 2 Corinthians 4:4 it said the God of this world had blinded their minds. Even though they're exposed to this amount of information, the God of this world
Had blinded them.
has blinded their minds. So it's now dawns on the church to not just teach them, but also pray for them, that their eyes will open to see these things. Because without their eyes being open, no matter what you tell them, they will never apply it and they'll never get to know it. So the first thing, go for information. Now, once they notice that the company of friends also they do keep, it says iron sharpeneth iron, and good bad communication, evil communication corrupts good.
Yes.
So once they notice, look at the company of friends they used to keep. Look at the company of friends. If they are involved in drugs, stay away, or they start introducing into drugs. Sometimes this thing comes gradually without
you knowing.
Yes. So what they do is, you notice that, look, this is wrong. This group of friends, stay away from them. Now you notice you're feeling strange when you've been part of it, you come down with an addiction. Visit a pastor. Yes, there's a spiritual part to it, there's a medical side to it. Now visit a pastor, get spiritual help, seek medical help. The spiritual help, talk to the pastor, open up, prays with you, breaks up the addiction, because I strongly believe that psychiatric conditions and addictions are not just physical or medical. The medical community cannot provide total help for those who are in addictions. They cannot do it. It's not possible without the spiritual backup. So seek spiritual help, get spiritual help from the pastor, get prayed for, go for materials, spiritual materials, study to come out from the hold of demonic oppressions. Then also seek medical help and get solutions.
And sir, I would want to ask again, the death rate among youth, although it doesn't happen in Christendom, at least I know of Salvation Ministry, not in Salvation Ministries, but out there in the world, the youth die on daily basis. They don't stay up to the unexpected age. And it's not normal. Like I said earlier, and it's not in Christendom, we don't witness such here. But I would want to ask, for the benefit of those watching us out there in the streets, those are watching us there who are not opportune to join the fold yet, the Christian fold yet, what are the causes, apart from drug, what are the causes that shorten the lifespan of a youth, and what do you suggest they do?
Okay, the first person on the street interview made mention of exercise, lack of regular exercise. And he also made mention of people who don't eat good, healthy diets. Now, Pastor David Ibione says something. He says, what you value, you give time to it. What you love, you give your time to it. Now, most people will tell you that they don't have the time for exercise. The system is now, the world is now a fast system. You wake up early, rush to work, close late, come back late, you're tired. We said, what you value. If you look at the average youth, while they believe that they don't have the time for exercise, for healthy living and so on, they have the time for Facebook.
For sure.
Yes, they have time for Facebook, they have time for the internet, for social media. So why can't you just wake up? If what you love, if you value your health, you wake up early, you give yourself to some exercises. 30 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. You could do something just within your house. You must not run out around the whole track. You're not Usain Bolt, for goodness sake. You could just do something small to keep yourself fit. Stay on healthy diet. It's not everything you eat. You don't eat everything. If you're in a church like Salvation Ministries, where you're encouraged to fast at least twice a week, on Thursdays, or on Sundays, or during the week of spiritual empowerment, you engage in it. Fasting has healthy benefits too. It helps burn out and eliminates waste and toxic substances. So these are things the youth could also engage in. Then they need to also go for information. Some people believe everything is spiritual. If you read this book by Pastor David Ibiome on wisdom for healthy living, he encourages you to visit a doctor. In fact, once you come down with an illness or you break down, it shows lack of faith. There's no faith in it. Again, he keeps stressing it. So this is one of the books you must get and study. So I encourage you to go to the Knowledge Center or any bookstore where you have David Ibiome's books. Pick up Wisdom for Healthy Living and study it.
Okay. I would want to ask before we go for another short break, sir. Peradventure, a youth, I know they are listening out there, and apart from the things you've mentioned, do you think there is any other thing that you think they should do? For instance, the young lady said that they don't have work. Now, an idle man is the devil's workshop. So what do you have to say to this in contributing to their health? Do you think idleness have contributed so far to a detrimental lifestyle?
Idleness, from Pastor David Ibiome's teaching. Idleness. I don't buy into the idea of idle. Anybody who is idle wants to be idle. Anyone who is idle has no idea. It has not. The person hasn't really come under the teaching. For goodness sake, in Salvation Ministry, we're exposed to 21st century Christian teaching. So anyone who is idle has a problem somewhere. The person needs a psychiatric check.
So if you are watching out there, I would want you to log into our store site, which is scrolling now on your screen, to get some messages. For instance, you might be thinking, oh, Pastor David Ibiome, Salvation Ministries, how do I get these messages they are talking about? The store handles and the store link is being scrolled on your screen. You can just log in and order for our messages, order for the books, and I'm sure it will help you a great deal. We are going to take a short break again and we'll be back in a jiffy. Please do stay engaged.
Enjoy a life free from the shackles of sicknesses and diseases, a state of well-being that is embodied in Christ. Get deeper insight on how to be in health and never fall sick. God's servant David Ibiome authors books that will give you a healthy life in Christ and make you enjoy healing as your covenant right. Books that administer 100% health to your body as you eat and digest them. They include Walking in Divine Health, God's Medicine, Miracle Hands, Miracle in Your Mouth. Hurry now, buy these life-changing books and enjoy divine health. Get a copy at Salvation Ministries Knowledge Center and leading stores around the globe. You can call +234 703 894 5714, +234 809 521 6466, or visit www.smhos.org/store.
You're welcome back from that short break. My guest did mention a quote from Pastor David Ibiome. Many people are schooled and not educated. At the Youth Engage show, you get schooled and you get educated at the same time. You're welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much.
So please, I want you to give your final advice, a final word for the people watching, the youth watching, the last word they should take away from today's episode of Youth Engage.
All right. One of the questions we treated had to do with the high death rate among youth.
Yes.
And I would like to go scripture with this. We cannot do without the scriptures. Let's go scripture. If you read the book of Genesis, I think go down to chapter 6, it talks about the age of man being 120. If you read the book of Psalms, you talk about man dying at 70. By strength, 60 by strength, 10 extra years, that's 70. And if you look at Genesis was written by Moses, Psalms was written by David. Now, Moses died at 120 because he saw 120 in scriptures, and David died at 70 because he saw 70 in scriptures. Now, the first thing you need to do is that God has promised you long life, but you determine how long you live. And this has to do with knowledge. You know, just because, oh, God has promised me long life, then I expose myself to illicit drugs, illicit sex, and all manner of vices. So yes, God has promised me long life. I have the promise of long life. That's one of it. But first of all, I have to become born again to enjoy the promises of long life. Then I have to live healthy. Avoid illicit sex, avoid illicit drugs, and all manner of things that are detrimental to health, so I can live healthy. Secondly, go for information. Go for deep spiritual information. Go for medical information, not just what we see on Facebook and a lot of lies and things on social media.
And these are the major points where we get influenced.
Influenced, yes. Negatively. That's why we get influenced negatively. The social media is where it's a watchword. A lot of people have to learn, make decisions, not to get negative information, to minimize their contact with the social media, I believe. Yeah. So these are some things we can do.
Okay. That is it. You've heard it from him. There are things you need to do, and you must do them if you want to remain healthy. It's been a nice time hanging out with you on the Youth Engage show today, and our wonderful guest, Pastor Jack Charles, who happens to be a doctor too, have done a good justice to the topic today. And once again, it's a pleasure to have you today, and we do believe that very soon we're going to have you again on a health-related matter.
It would be my pleasure.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
God bless you, sir. Pastor David Ibiome said, and I quote, lazy people discuss problems, while creative people discuss solution. And of course, you know that at the Youth Engage show, we do not just discuss problems, but look out for ways to provide pragmatic solutions to the issues that affect the youth in today's generation or in today's society. It was indeed an awesome moment on today's episode of Youth Engage show. We did talk about the 21st century youth and healthy living, and I'm sure you learned quite a lot from the topic. You have any inquiries to make, any question to ask, please do find time to send us questions through our social media handle now scrolling on the screen. And I promise you it will be an awesome time again next week, same station, same time. My name is Mark Miracle. Stay engaged the whole of the week. Bye.
That's why he went to school. So I think the problem is coming from the youth.
The people that rule this country, they are still the people today.
It is the youth who know well enough of today that can take charge of tomorrow.